This is the biggest log I can cut on this lathe, and it's the biggest thing I've ever put on this lathe. Welcome to Black Coal Woodworking. My name's Matt. Today I'm making a snowman, and I started with a spindle rough and gouge, but found out very quickly that was not the right tool. Switched over to, well, as you can probably guess, it's going to be a bowl gouge. Much better. It's a 1/2 inch bowl gouge, and this is how I roughed this log down to round. Pretty much like this. Point in, take off the side grain, kind of like a peeling cut. Works pretty good, didn't chatter too much, but it did leave a nasty surface. And this is my skew. I love my skew, and I'm crazy for even trying the skew on something this big. But I just had to try it. I have no idea why, but I was very much enamored with trying to get that clean surface that I can only get off of a skew. So let's see how it does. As you can tell, the surface from the skew is actually remarkably good. I did not expect to clean it up that much. So I'm pretty pumped and still pretty crazy for trying to use the skew for most of the project. I won't show terribly much of using the skew, getting this thing to a smoother round. Now that I think about it, I'm not even sure I would have had to do that. I could have just started cutting the stuff I wanted to cut. Time to mark it out. So I've got the butt on the right, the head on the middle there, and then that little gap is for the brim of his top hat. And now I'm going to turn the biggest bead I've ever turned in my life. I actually did really like the shavings I was getting from this thing. And I only took a few passes to get this thing into kind of a round shape. I was super surprised at how quick that actually went. Again, if I were to do this again, and I actually did, I would use a 1/2 inch spindle gouge for this part instead. Just makes far more sense. Did you catch one? Next is to cut the round part for the head. Again, I'm going to use a skew just because I'm still crazy at this point and loving the shavings. And it works. It actually worked all right. Oh, that little spot, I used a spindle gouge there or something else, and I just totally ripped it up. So now I've got to clean it up with the skew again. I've got my tool rest so high while doing this that I'm a little off when I'm doing my toe cuts here like this. Normally I'm a little lower so I don't have to raise the handle so high, but it's working. You can tell it's cleaning it up. Had a little ways to go. Then I was crazy enough to try a peeling cut. This part of the head was just too big, so here goes nothing, and it works. And then it's time to make the rest of it round again. I just love those ginormous shavings. For the end, I needed to trim off the top because that's just how the log was when I picked it up. And I wanted it cleaned up a little more. I tried a peeling cut there, just didn't work, just too crazy. So I opted instead to make the hat part of it and use a different tool to get at that very top part of the hat. So again, back to the skew, and I'm just tapering down a little ways to kind of make it look like it would be the right size for the head of a snowman. I'm not too worried about the roughness you see there, and you'll see why in a minute. But I am going to need to clean up the brim of the hat because it's tapered the wrong way. I just want it to be flat. I'm going to chamfer for the edges here just so they're not sharp, although I'm pretty sure one of the next steps would take care of that too. Back to the bowl gouge to deal with that top hat. To fit the top hat on, I'm going to chop off part of the snowman's head at an angle. That way it looks kind of more natural. For this next part, I'm making a kind of a giant dowel that I'm going to stick between the body and the hat, just so that it's kind of got a mechanical connection, but it's not going to be glued. Drilling this hole was a very big pain in the butt. I cannot get a 35mm Forstner bit to go straight on this type of wood for pretty much anything. So I tried pre-drilling and eventually was lucky enough to get the help of my daughter. I did the same with the hat. Time for the first test fit. And there we go. Seems to look like I wanted it to. That's a good start. Now to make this little guy's nose. I'm just making a piece of wood that's about 10mm in diameter, and that's because it's the exact size of the drill bit I've got. Pointer? I was fortunate enough to be able to get my daughter to paint that little nose orange. Now it's time to mark out the face. For his belly, he's going to get 2 buttons. Time to install the schnoz. And the hat's going to be black. And here it is, all put together. Finally done. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like. Consider subscribing. Thank you for watching. I hope any craft sales that you end up joining or markets, this might be a good idea for one of them.